Think about this as a quote. No wonder I went insane. I found nothing in my solitude. Think about that. We have heard from spiritual people that one must meditate in solitude, alone, in your room, or into the mountains we go, or the caves we search, and we close our eyes and dive deep within with all that expectations of what we have heard, from spiritual gurus and ideas and concepts, that you will realize something, you will be awakened and everything. So this is just one of the ways this search can unfold, this spiritual search. So you go into the mountain or the room and you do that. At the end of it, you find nothing. All that expectations, you just find nothing. And that nothingness can lead to a sort of madness, two different types of madness. The first is actual madness, when all your expectations come down and you are shocked. That shock is a realization that there is no way out. Now what? You're left with that question. You still have a life to face. So that shock leads to mental issues and mental madness, where you might need a visit to the psychologist and you'll be on pills for the rest of your life, or in worst cases you'll spend some time in the mental institute. That's the first type of actual madness. The second type of madness is that once one comes out with an illusion after this spiritual search of solitude. Having found nothing, he can't admit to that failure. So, any idea he gets in that time of solitude, he sticks to that very ardently and very viciously. He considers that to be the truth of his efforts in solitude. So, he spends the rest of his life trying to spread that idea, illusion, belief to other people. Now, that idea could have worked for himself, but it could barely work for someone else. But he still tries to spread it. That's also a kind of madness. And that kind of madness, the second type, being under the illusion of an idea which occurred to that person in solitude. Now, that idea could have occurred to you anyhow in business matters as well, and you would not have considered it holy. That is the distinction. But when you go into spirituality and meditation, all of a sudden you have this any idea that occurs to you, say that it's holy. That's how life should be. While if you are busy in business matters, some creative thing, you could have come up with a book and sold it, or a product, or any technological innovation, right? But since the idea occurred to you when you were in a spiritual state area, then you consider it holy, and it becomes a belief, or it becomes something that you want to spread amongst people. It becomes your goal in life, right? Anyway, that's the second type of madness. And people spend their entire life in that madness until the end, until their dying breath. But they can also switch between those ideas or madness or illusions or beliefs if they further go into solitude, like once a month or 1 month in a year. They keep going to deeper and deeper ideas, deeper and deeper states of their mentality or psyche, right? And then they stick to that deeper state for a while and spread that, and then they meditate in solitude again, go deeper again, they stick to that and employ it for 5 to 10 years of their life. So they keep on going deeper and deeper into what is basically ideas or illusions or belief, which arises because of, first of all, because of their spiritual effort, but then they stick to it because they basically found nothing, and they don't want their effort to be wasted, right? Yeah. Anyway, the second type of madness can eventually lead to the first type of madness, in which a person realizes the entire game, the cycle, the circle that he's been going in. It's like, what the hell have I been doing, right? So it leads to the first type of madness where he ends up in the mental institute, and after that he goes back to normal life, daily life, and finds some special things in there, connection, relationship with people, talking, everything is special. You don't have to go into the mountains. Everything is special in this world. That is the trick. Just having this conversation with someone, and the fact that they're listening to you and receiving, and they can make out anything they want out of your words, that is something special, right? So yeah, I think that's the trick of the spiritual escapade, right? That is the purpose, one can say, that it calls you in to solitude and then gives you a shortcut, and it says nothing, right? Nothing. Your effort will lead to nothing, so drop it, right? Maybe it's a shortcut to realizing the nothingness of everything. Anyway, on an entire different note, entire different topic, psychology has not helped the psychologist. you know Psychology has not helped the psychologist. First of all, in personal matters, in family matters, he might have trouble with his wife, arguments with his parents and whatnot. But if he's really wise, which does not mean psychology has helped him, but his wisdom in using the psychology has helped him. Anyway, but if he's really wise, he can manage those family matters better. But that's one way of problem the psychologist can get into. The another problem is the problem with his children, that is the next generation. That is a problem of psychology, right? That he can't get out of, in a way, because for example, his child will also be a psychologist, right? And psychology would have been improved by then. Some better ideas, some better philosophies in that, some better understanding will arise, right? Which will be in conflict with the father, which is also the psychologist. So they will be arguing about psychology itself, So the very area of psychology becomes a matter of conflict. Psychology has not helped the psychologist. You understand? Silence has not helped the one who is in solitude. That's it.